Welcome back to the Broad Street Sports Podcast featuring Zachary Chavy, and today I will be giving you a catch-up on the MLB playoffs and then talking about a little bit of the NFL in the second half of the show. So moving towards the MLB first, I'm going to talk about the American League. So the Tigers going into Houston, taking both games. The first game, they had Screwball on the mound. I think we all know why that happened, like why they won, because Screwball is the Cy Young in the American League this year. He was shut down, didn't allow a single run. They didn't get a run until the ninth inning. But the Tigers, they're just a gritty, always hustle team. Like they're always fighting for runs, fighting for bases, just making great defensive plays. And they just have a team that is hungry and ready to win. And it's a team that, if you're a team waiting in this wild in the DS like the Guardians are, I would not take this team out of consideration, because they are very, very good. And they're just the type of team, you get in the playoffs, anything's possible. It reminds me of the Phillies team back in 2022. They just got in there, and they made their message known. And this Tigers team is very much like that. They have great pitching, a very underrated bullpen, and they really can do anything. And for the Astros, I don't know where they move from here. I think this is probably the end of the dynasty for them. I feel like the core of that championship team could be moving away as the years go on, and I feel like a rebuild is in the works for them in the near future, because I just feel like they've done it with this core for so long. Dusty Baker's gone now. Bregman might leave, and I don't know where they move from here. So, and then moving on to the other series, which in my opinion very, very much shocked me, the Royals and the Orioles. The Orioles just were they just didn't do anything. And at home, they scored one run in a combined 18 innings. Their pitching did the job for them. Zach Eflin pitched well. Their top guy, Corbin Burns, the guy they got to help them get to a World Series, was good for them. The main issue with them was their offense, an offense that mostly carried them throughout the season, with guys like Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Anthony Santander, Ryan Mountcastle, Colton Cowser, guys like that carried them, and Cedric Mullins, guys who carried them throughout the year, and just were not there for them when it mattered most. And the Royals just got the hits when they needed to. Their pitching was great. Their closer, Lucas Esquerek, pitched well for them and got them two great saves. Or Lucas Esquerek, yeah. And then pretty much they're going on to play a Yankees team that they have a lot of experience in against. So it's just great for the Royals to get back in the playoffs and finally win a series. And guys like Salvi Perez, I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but maybe if they can make a long run, maybe this could be his farewell story. We'll have to see. Moving on to the National League side, we still got a game going on tonight between the Mets and the Brewers. So that should be interesting to see how that series goes. In my opinion, as a Phillies fan, I want the Brewers to win, because I just think we're more favorable against the Brewers than we are the Mets, in my opinion. So we'll have to see how that series goes. Probably in the next episode, I'll talk about that game a little more, because we'll have all the games set and probably a couple games in next week, because we have the DSs for both series start this weekend. So, and then let's just talk about the other series that is finished in the National League between the Braves and the Padres. The Padres, they did what they needed to do. They got the win, and it's mostly because of their bullpen. Their bullpen is one of the most dangerous, if not the best bullpen in baseball. Guys like Tanner Scott and Robert Suarez, and the list goes on and on from there. They're just guys, when they're on, they are unhittable. And they are a team. When you have a good bullpen, especially the way they've been playing down the stretch to the end of the season, and it's translating into the playoffs, they're just not a team you want to play. Their bullpen is basically, like I said, unhittable when they're on fire. And at this point, going against the Dodgers, this might be the best series of the division series, in my opinion. You got the stars, you got the pitching in this series. It's just going to come down to which team can deliver when the pressure's on them. And the Dodgers that's what they got Shohei Ohtani for a reason. It's for those moments, because they've been choking these past couple of years. But at the same time, we'll have to see how he plays. This is his first playoffs. He might be one of the best players, if not the best player in baseball. But we're going to have to see how that translates to the postseason, because this is a first-time experience for him. While some of these other guys have had many years of postseason experience and some World Series. But that is a series I'm very much looking at, and could be the possible World Series winner there, or definitely the World Series representative for the National League, but even the World Series winner, in my opinion. But let's just talk. I just want to talk about the Phillies real quick before I move on to football. In my opinion, as a Phillies fan, I'm not feeling great going into the postseason, and I know some people might disagree with me on that. I know people get excited for October baseball and stuff like that, and I'm excited too. But I just don't feel great as the past 2 years as I did. I know the Phillies, that underdog story, one of the greatest things I've ever watched as a sports fan in my life. That 2022 year, I could watch that over and over and over again because that's just a team like the Detroit Tigers, like I mentioned, a team that was just one for and not they loved each other, they had the chemistry, and they were just going out there for one common goal, just shock the world. And for this team now, it's World Series or bust. They've got the players. They have Turner, they have Schwarber, Castellanos, Harper, they have Bohm, Stott, Marsh, Rojas, Hayes, and this pitching staff with Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez in the bullpen with Estevez. You had Tanner Banks, you got Jeff Hoffman, you got Matt Strom, two guys who were in the All-Star game this year. If the Phillies do not win the World Series, it is a terrible year, and it's like a bust. The year was a fail, in my opinion, if they do not win the World Series. At the beginning of the year, at least for the first half, the Phillies were the best team in baseball, and I still think they have it in them, but I don't know. It's really how these teams who win the World Series, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the Phillies, they just have not been playing great the second half. Their offense can get cold at any point. And I feel like if we play a team like the Mets, a team of possible destiny, I don't know how that series is going to go. And say we beat them and have to face the Padres, I don't even know how that's going to go because when your bats are cold and you face a great bullpen, that doesn't translate well. And the Padres have a good enough offense to get runs on the board. So it's going to be very interesting to me how the Phillies play. At this point, as a Phillies fan, I'm not feeling great, but I know deep down, if this team really thinks they can win the World Series, they'll bring back that first half team and go win it for the city of Philadelphia, because I think this is the year. If they do not win the World Series this year, they are never winning a World Series with this core. I will say that right now. I'll put it down right now. I guarantee it. If we don't win the World Series this year, I don't think we win it with this core. I'm not saying we don't win it again, but with the core we have built the past couple years, we will not win it, because going back a fourth year after being heartbroken in 2022 and 2023, and if you lose again this year, I don't see a team like them recovering for another year, because the past 2 years to get into the playoffs, they've been terrible to start the year and then basically went on a tear and got themselves in the playoffs. And this year was a complete difference. They won the division for the first time since 2011. They had the team set up. It's just, can these players wake up and realize their full potential? Because now it's now or never. The postseason, it gets a whole lot tougher, and you can't have bad performances, because these teams who get in the wild card, they won for a reason, and they're going to just be ready for anything that comes at them. So that's why you need to be ready. You need to put the pedal to the metal. And this Phillies team, it's World Series or bust, and I really hope they do it. But at the end of the day, Rob Thompson, I don't like him as a manager. Really haven't since the season has started. I just don't like his decision making. I feel like teams have figured him out. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can bring his style of baseball. He's a baseball lifer at this point, so it's going to be interesting to see what he takes from this. But as a Phillies fan, World Series or bust. So moving on to the NFL now, I'm going to talk about some points that have happened throughout the season and my picks for the week. So first thing I want to talk about that just happened today, Rashid Rice has gone down for the Chiefs. He's on the IR for at least 4 games, and that's big for them because they already lost Hollywood Brown, and Travis Kelce just got involved last week. They just lost Isaiah Pacheco for at least 6 to 8 weeks when that injury happened against Cincinnati. So it's going to be interesting to see who they turn to for this offense. They drafted Xavier Worthy, but at the same time, I don't know how he's going to play as a Rashid Rice. He was great for them as a deep ball and a middle of the field type of guy. He was Mahomes' number one guy, and unfortunately, Mahomes is the reason he's hurt right now because he hit him in the back of his leg, and that's why he suffered his injury. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can incorporate new guys into this offense, if they can get Travis Kelce back into this offense. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then moving on to give me 1 second. And then I'm going to move on to the next point, how the Eagles will look out of the bye week. In my opinion, as an Eagles fan, as it currently stands, I'm not really confident in this team right now. We're 2-2, and it could be a whole lot worse. We could be either 3-1, and without Saquon Barkley, I think we get 0-4. In my opinion, Sirianni, he should have not even started this season as the Eagles head coach. This is just Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman convinced and having a yes man as the head coach is a good idea. In my personal opinion, if we do not win the Super Bowl this year, I don't know how Philadelphia fans are going to respond to this, but I think the only way you can get this team to come back after the fall off and possibly not doing anything this year is go hire a guy like Bill Belichick. You need to give up a little bit of responsibility to the coach, because you see these other teams like the Chiefs, like the Rams. I know that they're not playing well, but Sean McVay always is competitive with them. The Niners, I know they're not winning Super Bowls, but they're always competitive. And a guy like Bill Belichick, he will get these players in shape, and I just feel like Nick Sirianni's completely lost his locker room, and I think there's no turning back from that. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, it should be interesting to see. I really hope it's just A.J. Brown and Smith being out, but I've been saying this all week. The team that comes out of the bye week is the team that we will see the rest of the year. So it's going to be on these coaches and players to realize this is a Super Bowl caliber team, and they need to understand that they have the potential to do it, and they need to do it just like the Phillies. In my opinion, if they do not win the Super Bowl this year, it is another failed season, and a lot of moves need to happen. I still have very much good confidence in Jalen Hurts. Some of his turnovers are very questionable, but half of that I blame on the coaching and not putting him in great positions. And he's just not, like, the injuries to the receivers have sucked, and they're just not running plays to get him better chemistry with these receivers. And Saquon Barkley getting 10 rushes, I didn't talk about this last week, that's inexcusable in my opinion. You pay this guy $37 million and you give him the ball 10 times. That is completely disrespectful to that guy. He's the reason we have 2 wins right now. And if he doesn't drop the ball, which I'm not like, the defense didn't make the stop, and that game was just terrible to begin with. And if you think about it, if he catches that ball, we're 3-1 right now. So, but Saquon Barkley, he's been the star of this offense. I'm not putting anything on him, but they need to realize this is a Super Bowl team, and it's going to be interesting to see how they come out of the bye week. And then I'm going to talk about Davante Adams. Earlier in the week, he demanded a trade from the Raiders. A couple of destinations have come out, like the Jets, the Cowboys, the Saints. And today a report came out, I think, that he is interested very much in the Jets, and that makes sense. The connection with Aaron Rodgers. And in my opinion, I can only see him going to 2 teams, the Jets or the Saints. And I have a reason why for each. The Jets, like just I mentioned, Aaron Rodgers, he has the connection there. In my opinion, the Jets, they just need to wake up and realize their offense. I don't think another receiver is going to help that. I mean, Adams is great, but they have Garrett Wilson, they have Allen Lazard, and they have Mike Williams, and they have Breece Hall, they have Tyler Conklin. Their offense is still very good, and I don't know why the defense, they definitely need some other pieces, because not having Hassan Reddick, you traded for a guy and he's not playing for you, and I think he has no desire in playing for that team, so it's going to be interesting to see. But like I said, those are the 2 teams. And then the Saints, why do you think everyone knows why he went to the Raiders in the first place? He played with Derek Carr at Fresno State. He has that connection with them. And the Saints, it just seems like since they played the Eagles, their offense is just a little shaky. And putting a guy like Davante Adams next to Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, who could be even more open, not putting Adams into that offense, I feel like the Saints, they're kind of down in the dumps right now. They're coming off back-to-back losses, and I feel like a trade for Adams would wake up this offense, the offense we saw the first 2 weeks of the season, and it could easily make them the top team in the NFC South. So that's going to be interesting to see. And then the final point I just want to talk about is the season so far. In my opinion, the season so far has been good. A lot of competitive games, a lot of surprise games, like a lot of surprise teams winning, and then the Vikings, for example, they're 4-0 right now with Sam Darnold, which is great. And Sam Darnold's looked good for them, which I'm very surprised about. And it's going to be interesting to see how they keep playing and see if they can keep winning. They got the Jets this week in London at 9:30, so that's going to be interesting to see. And then just the season as a whole, there's been a lot of injuries in my opinion, so that kind of sucks because you want teams to be healthy because you want to see their real potential. Like the Eagles, for example, they've lost Brown and Smith in the past couple weeks. Brown hasn't played since week 1. So I'm excited to see if these players can get healthy. Majority of them are only out for a few weeks, but hopefully they can get back in some action and we can see the NFL competitive as a whole. So, and then moving on to the final part of the show, I'm just going to go over my picks for the week. I got the Bucs over the Falcons tonight. I got the Vikings over the Jets in London, the Bears over the Panthers, Commanders over Browns, the Dolphins over Pats, the Colts over the Jaguars, the Bills. That even though it's a Stephon Diggs revenge game, I still think the Bills are going to be angry about last week and go into Houston and put up a great fight and get the win. Ravens over Bengals, the Raiders over Broncos, 49ers over Cardinals, the Seahawks over the Giants, the Packers over the Rams, and then for Sunday night, I think the Steelers defense is going to make a huge impact on Dak Prescott. Maybe he'll force a couple turnovers, and I feel like Justin Fields, he just needs to play like he did last week, and they could easily get the win. And then finally, for Monday Night Football, I have the Chiefs over the Saints. The Saints, I feel like they're gonna have to suffer. They're probably gonna suffer another loss because the Chiefs are a team. Even though they're hurt right now, they still got Mahomes, they still got Kelsey, and they still got Andy Reid. But that core they've had the past couple years, it hasn't mattered who they had around that offense, and I still think it won't matter for them. And I still think they'll be able to get a win in Kansas City, especially since it's in KC, and maybe force a couple turnovers on Derek Carr. But that's going to wrap up today's show. If you have any thoughts or comments at all, put it down in the chat. But other than that, look forward to some episodes next week. And other than that, you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the Thursday night football game between the Falcons and Bucs. And then will be interesting to see. We'll find out who the Phillies play tonight because they play on Saturday at 4 o'clock. So other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you later.